Welcome to Whispers of the Guilty, where we delve deep into the shadows of true crime, uncovering the darkest corners of human nature. I'm your host, SyLence, and today we embark on a chilling journey to Pike County, Ohio, where a small community was rocked by one of the most heinous family massacres in recent history. In the early hours of a spring morning in 2016, the tranquility of rural life was shattered. 8 members of the Rhoden family were found brutally executed in their homes, sparking an investigation that would reveal a web of deceit, betrayal, and calculated revenge. The complexity of this case drew national attention, not only for the brutality of the crimes, but for the shocking revelations about those who were responsible. Join me as we explore the intricate details of the Rhoden family murders. We'll uncover the motives, the missed clues, and the heart-wrenching impact of this tragedy on a tight-knit community. From the initial discovery of the crime to the dramatic trials that followed, we'll piece together how a deeply personal vendetta could culminate in such a devastating loss of life. Prepare yourself for a story of unimaginable cruelty and the relentless pursuit of justice. This is not just a recounting of facts, it's an exploration of the human psyche and the lengths to which it can go when driven by the darkest of intentions. So, turn down the light and let's get started on this harrowing journey through the shadows of Pike County. On the chilly morning of April 22, 2016, a palpable tension enveloped the rural expanse of Pike County, Ohio, a quiet community accustomed to the serene rhythms of country living. The day began with a series of frantic 911 calls that shattered the calm as local law enforcement hurriedly responded to reports of multiple shootings at different residences. As deputies approached the first of 4 homes, the grim reality of the situation began to take shape, a massacre that would soon be known as one of Ohio's most chilling family tragedies. Inside the first home, the body of Christopher Rhoden Sr. was discovered, setting a somber tone for what was to unfold. The 40-year-old patriarch of the Rhoden family was found brutally executed in his bed, a scene that spoke of both intimacy and violence. This horrific discovery was just the beginning. As officers moved from room to room and then house to house, they uncovered more victims, each scene echoing the last in its gruesome detail. Christopher's ex-wife, Dana Manley Rhoden, and their 3 children, Frankie, Hannah, and Chris Jr., were all found dead, their lives cut short in a night of unspeakable violence. The methodical nature of the killings pointed to a calculated attack. Most victims were targeted while asleep, with shots to the head ensuring there were no survivors to bear witness. The absence of forced entry suggested that the assailants were not strangers. This was personal, a cold-blooded extermination of a family executed with precision. Amid the chaos, the discovery of marijuana grow operations at 2 of the properties complicated the narrative. While not uncommon in this secluded part of Ohio, the size and sophistication of the grows hinted at possible motives rooted in the lucrative but risky underground cannabis market. The Rhoden family, known in the community for their hard work in both farming and auto salvage, had not been public about their involvement in growing marijuana, but the presence of these operations suggested a double life that might have entangled them in dangerous disputes. As state investigators took over the sprawling crime scene, spanning 4 homes and involving multiple agencies, the local community reeled from the shock. The Rhoden family, fixtures in the area for generations, were remembered at vigils and community gatherings where friends and neighbors grappled with the brutal reality of the loss. Theories abounded, from drug cartels to local feuds, but the initial investigation focused on untangling the web of relationships surrounding the Rhoden family. The involvement of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation signified the complexity and severity of the case. Agents meticulously combed through the homes, collecting evidence that ranged from bullet casings to digital footprints left behind in the form of texts and calls. Every piece of evidence suggested planning and familiarity with the victim's routines, pointing to a killer or killers who had not only motive and means, but also intimate knowledge of the family. In the days following the murders, the investigation revealed tensions within the local community, where the Rhodens' operations might have stepped on toes, both legally and in the murkier world of illicit dealings. The Rhodens' ties to other prominent local families, including the Wagners, with whom they shared business dealings and personal relationships, became a focal point. The Wagners, like the Rhodens, were involved in similar industries and had known the victims for years, weaving a complex tapestry of alliances and rivalries that investigators began to painstakingly unravel. As the community awaited answers, law enforcement enforcement officials vowed to solve the mystery of who would commit such a calculated series of murders and why. The specter of the Rhoden family's massacre loomed large over Pike County, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind the facade of rural tranquility. The investigation, still in its early stages, promised to delve deeper into the intertwining lives of those connected to the Rhodens, seeking clues in the shadowy intersections of family loyalty, illicit business, and lethal vengeance. The investigation into the Rhoden family massacre continued with relentless intensity as state and federal agencies descended upon the small community of Pike County, unraveling the threads of a complicated tapestry woven with secrecy, betrayal, and corruption. Amidst a backdrop of rolling hills and secluded farmland, the magnitude of the crime seemed incongruous, yet each new piece of evidence suggested a deep-seated vendetta against the Rhoden family. In the weeks following the murders, the attention of the investigators focused sharply on the dynamics within the Rhoden and Wagner families. Both families were well acquainted, not just through business dealings in the local construction and salvage industries, but also through personal ties that had soured over time. Central to these interactions was Jake Wagner, who had once been intimately involved with Hannah Rhoden, one of the victims. Together, they had shared a young daughter, thrust into the center of a custodial dispute that many began to speculate could have provided a motive for the killings. The scrutiny intensified when it was revealed that just days before her death, Hannah had confided in friends about her fears over escalating tensions with Jake concerning their daughter's custody arrangements. This revelation aligned with the discovery of custody documents in the Wagner home during one of the many search warrants executed in the months following the murders. The documents, detailed and legally binding, contrasted starkly with the rural, informal manner in which such disputes were typically handled in Pike County. It painted a picture of premeditation and desire for control that extended beyond mere parental rights. As summer turned to fall, the expansive crime scene yielded further evidence. Technicians retrieved data from cell phones, computers, and social media accounts belonging to members of both families. Digital footprints revealed a labyrinth of communications between the Wagners and Rhodens, with encrypted messages hinting at deep-seated animosities and veiled threats. These digital breadcrumbs were meticulously pieced together by cyber forensic teams, revealing a narrative of manipulation and coercion that seemed to culminate in the tragic events of that April morning. The breakthrough came when ballistics tests confirmed that the firearms used in the murders matched those legally owned by the Wagner family. This key piece of evidence was supported by surveillance footage from a nearby hardware store, which showed two of the Wagner men purchasing items that were later identified at the crime scenes, including specific types of ammunition and shoe covers, suggesting a deliberate effort to avoid leaving traces. With this mounting evidence, the community's initial shock and grief morphed into a palpable anger towards the Wagners, who had lived among them, pretending to share in their collective mourning. The once close-knit community found itself divided, with people choosing sides, some clinging to disbelief about the involvement of a local family in such heinous acts, while others felt betrayed and demanded justice. The narrative that unfolded in the public eye was one of a meticulously planned execution, stemming from a bitter custody dispute that had spiraled into a vendetta against an entire family. Speculation was rife about other possible motives, including financial gains related to the Rhoden's business ventures, and even darker rumors of a cartel hit due to the family's alleged involvement in the illegal marijuana trade. However, the focus remained on the personal, a dispute between former lovers that had tragically engulfed both their families. As autumn leaves began to carpet the ground in Pike County, the Wagner family faced increasing isolation, their every move watched by law enforcement and the community. With the evidence stacking up, arrests seemed imminent, turning the slow wheels of rural justice suddenly into swift action. The community braced for more revelations, hoping for closure, yet dreading the extent of the betrayal that might yet be uncovered in the heart of their once peaceful community. As the leaves changed in Pike County, the investigation into the Rhoden family massacre reached a crucial turning point. Armed with a wealth of digital evidence and the damning ballistics report, law enforcement was poised to act. The Wagner family, once integral members of the community, now found themselves the focus of an intense investigative storm. In November 2018, more than 2 years after the murders, a coordinated series of arrests were made, shattering the facade of normalcy the Wagners had maintained. On that crisp morning, SWAT teams descended upon the Wagner property. George Wagner III, Angela Wagner, and their two sons, George IV and Edward Jake Wagner, were taken into custody, charged with the premeditated murder of 8 members of the Rhoden family. The arrests marked a significant breakthrough in the case, turning local suspicions into formal accusations. The news rippled through Pike County, bringing a mix of relief and renewed grief as the reality of the betrayal sank in. The prosecution laid out its case, revealing a plot that appeared to stem primarily from the custody dispute over Jake Wagner's daughter. It was alleged that the Wagners had become obsessed with gaining full custody of the young child, enough to meticulously plan and execute a massacre to eliminate anyone who might stand in their way. This chilling narrative was supported by a trove of evidence, including homemade silencers, specific ammunition matching the wounds of the victims, and a detailed plan for the night of the murders, which was found on one of the Wagner's electronic devices. The community reeled as further details emerged from court documents. Surveillance tactics employed by the Wagners included hacking into the Rhoden's social media accounts and phones to track their movements and conversations. The Wagners had even gone so far as to tamper with the crime scenes post-murder to mislead the initial investigation. Each revelation painted a picture of a deeply calculated act rooted in a desire for control that had grotesquely overshadowed any semblance of moral judgment. As the legal proceedings began, the Wagners faced a litany of charges, from aggravated murder and conspiracy to forgery and obstruction of justice. The case against them was solidified by the testimony of family associates who had witnessed the Wagners' preparations and their increasingly erratic behavior leading up to the murders. These testimonies were corroborated by video evidence that placed their vehicles near the Rhoden homes on the night of the killings, further implicating them in the crime. The small courtroom in Waverly, where the trials were held, became the stage for a drama that drew national attention. Legal experts and crime enthusiasts followed every development, analyzing the implications of each piece of evidence presented. For the residents of Pike County, however, the trials were more than just a legal spectacle. They were a communal catharsis, a chance to reckon with the deep-seated issues that had allowed such a tragedy to unfold in their midst. Throughout the proceedings, the defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial and pointed to the possibility of other motives, including the Rhodens' alleged involvement in drug trafficking. They suggested that the evidence could have been planted or misinterpreted, casting doubt on the integrity of the investigation. Yet, the overwhelming digital and forensic evidence presented by the prosecution made it increasingly difficult to see the Wagners' actions in any benign light. As winter approached, the emotional toll of the trial on the Rhoden and Wagner families was palpable. Family members of the victims often left the courtroom in tears, overwhelmed by the gruesome details of their loved ones' final moments. For the Wagners, the familial bonds that once held them together were tested as they faced the reality of spending decades, if not lifetimes, behind bars. The atmosphere in the courtroom was one of palpable tension and sorrow, a community still in shock, grappling with the scale of the deception and brutality it had witnessed. As each day of testimony unfolded, the pieces of a horrifying puzzle fell into place, revealing not just the mechanics of a massacre, but the dark heart of human animosity that had driven it. Throughout the cold months, as the trial against the Wagner family progressed, the layers of their alleged conspiracy were peeled back, revealing the extent of their meticulous planning and brutal execution of the Rhoden family. Evidence presented in court painted a grim picture of premeditation, including the purchase and testing of silencers, nighttime reconnaissance missions, and an almost obsessive control over the narrative that the Wagners attempted to maintain in the aftermath of the murders. The courtroom dynamics shifted as plea deals and state's evidence began to play pivotal roles. In a significant development, Jake Wagner, once poised to defend his actions vigorously, chose to plead guilty to spare his family the death penalty, agreeing to testify against his parents and brother. His testimony provided a first-hand account of the planning and execution phases of the crime, which he described with chilling detachment. He recounted how the family had practiced shooting with silencers, discussed alibis, and even debated the order in which the Rhodens should be killed. Jake's confessions added a harrowing layer of detail to the narrative. He described the night of the murders with cold precision, illustrating how his family moved from one house to another, ensuring that each member of the Rhoden family was dealt with according to their grim plan. The courtroom listened in stunned silence as he narrated their steps, portraying a night filled with calculated violence designed to eliminate an entire lineage. As the trials unfolded, evidence and testimonies seemed to entwine, forming a tight net around the accused. The Wagners' defense attorneys contended with the overwhelming narrative by questioning the reliability of forensic methods and the potential for other suspects, including drug cartels. But the prosecution's case, bolstered by Jake's testimony, was formidable. The community, while divided in their sentiment, mostly felt a grim satisfaction that justice appeared imminent, hoping it could close a dark chapter in their lives. Outside the courtroom, the impact of the case resonated deeply within Pike County. Schools implemented counseling sessions, and local churches held community healing events. The trials had laid bare not only the depths of human depravity, but also the fragility of community ties. The Rhoden and Wagner families, once integral to the community fabric, now symbolized a shattered trust that would take generations to rebuild. As the final arguments were made and the jury deliberated, Pike County held its breath. The verdict, when they came, were almost anticlimactic tragic in their inevitability. Guilty on nearly all counts, the Wagners were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentences were a formal conclusion to a saga that had gripped the community for years. In the aftermath of the trial, Pike County attempted to find its new normal. The scars of the massacre would linger, visible in the abandoned homes and in the wary glances of neighbors once known to each other as friends. The legal closure did little to heal the emotional wounds or answer the lingering questions about what could drive a family to commit such heinous acts against another. As the years passed, the Rhoden family massacre became a somber lesson for the community, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors and the importance of justice in upholding communal peace. Memorials were erected and annual vigils were held, not just to mourn the loss, but to affirm the resilience of those left behind. The story of the Rhoden family massacre, while closed in the legal books, remained open in the hearts of Pike County, a poignant narrative of loss, betrayal, and the enduring quest for peace and justice. Thank you for joining me on this harrowing journey through the dark twists and turns of the Pike County massacre. What we uncovered today is more than a crime. It's a profound reflection on the depths of human malice and the resilience of a community in the face of unimaginable tragedy. As we close this chapter, let us not forget the lives lost and the ongoing struggles of those left behind. Justice may provide some solace, but the scars will endure, reminding us of the delicate fabric of human relationships and the vigilance we must maintain to protect it. If today's story moved you, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on more stories like this one. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights enrich our discussions and help us all gain a deeper understanding of these complex cases. Until next time, keep seeking the truth, stay safe, stay curious, and as always, keep whispering about the guilty. Goodbye and take care.